So my cold has set in properly now, so yeah, this could be fun. Mission Impossible 5, released in July of 2015 and directed by Christopher McQuarrie. Starring Tom Cruise, Simon Pegg, Alec Baldwin, Jeremy Renner, Ving Rhames, Sarah Ferguson, Sean Harris, and Jim McBurney. A production budget of $150 million, a domestic take of $195 million, an international take of $487, for a worldwide take of $682 million, for a tidy little profit of $532 million. Not bad at all. Let's move on to characters. And we'll start, of course, with Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt. Once again, Tom Cruise has managed to find a way to make Ethan Hunt even better. He's still your top-notch secret agent. He's still the epitome of the action star in this movie. But at the same time, he's a little bit more funnier. He's actually a bit more self-depreciating. Tom Cruise is really seems to be very, very comfortable in this role now. This is like a second skin. He's really inhabits the role of Ethan Hunt, and it pays off. Also have to say, it looks like Tom had a lot of fun playing the near-death or post-death experience Ethan. That was a lot of fun to watch him try to survive in that sort of mindset. Jeremy Renner as Brandt. Brandt is back and Brandt is great. He's your much more serious, a little bit more grounded in the reality sort of agent. He's still very capable and confident in everything he can do and everything his team can do. But at the same time, he's the one that's yelling caution and wanting everyone to double check their facts and think about what they're doing. In fact, watching frustrated Brandt carry on in this movie is just solid gold. And Benji is back, and Benji is like 300% more confident. And I'd say a good 70% more capable. He's your tech wizard that you definitely want on the team because he's willing to get his hands dirty when he has to. In fact, he desperately wants to get his hands dirty. He wants to be the very best field agent he can. And he is great in this. Luther is back. And he's also back to not having a lot to do. But he's still important to the plot. He's there for all the key lines. He's there for a lot of the essential elements of this story. You could call him a late game key player. Alec Baldwin as our CIA director. He doesn't like the IMF, he doesn't trust the IMF, and he's done his best to shut down the IMF and absorb all its resources. You wouldn't call him a villain, but you definitely call him a problem. And one they have to navigate and work around and eventually fold into the plan. And when they do that, that's sweet. Ferguson as Ilsa Forst. She is your female lead, and she is quite a dangerous and capable agent. But then again, all the female characters or agents in a Mission Impossible movie are capable. Forst is fun. That's not a commonly heard sentence. Or is it Faust? I'm going to go with Forst, because Faust is hard to say at the moment. She's great as your hero and villain and just grey agent. You're kind of sure where she is, but at the same time her behaviour is kind of extreme. You're not 100% sure of even she's sane. Great chemistry between Faust and Hunt. That was really good fun to watch. Speaking of chemistry, watching Brandt and Luther argue, bicker and kind of not get along, also cool. Then you have Atlee, another character that you're not sure of where he stands. Again, late game introduction. And you kind of sus on this guy, which your gut feeling proves out to be true because he is quite rotten. But the way they play him is quite exact, a very precise pseudo villain. And then the actual villain, Lane, and he is a psychopath. I like Lane. He comes across as a genuine threat, a very scary dude. I think it's that voice he uses. That voice he's got, oh, that's chilling. I liked it. So score for characters. I'm very happy to be giving this one a 3.5. These are some good characters. You learn to like these characters. They're familiar characters. And then the new characters that they bring in are also just as good. You want to know more about them, which I think is key. If you want to know more about the characters you're seeing on screen, then the writers have done their job. Easy 3.5. Story. This is good. However, we're also getting into the territory of the James Bond syndrome or perhaps a TV show like NCIS, where you've seen this story before, you've heard the story before. It's just how they package the story that makes it fun. This one is almost a retelling of Ghost Protocol, except you've got some extra twists, extra elements, and a different way the whole thing plays out. But you feel the same framework. It's almost the same setup in many ways. But thankfully, you lose track of that. That sameness goes away, or is at least accepted and comfortable enough that you don't care. The opening sequence is also a little different. It sets the scene and tone for the movie. That's what it normally does, right? And so when this one starts up, it's almost an action comedy. I mean, there's a lot of action. It's very exciting. I mean, Tom Cruise on the side of that damn plane is nuts and brilliant. But at the same time, the dialogue, the way that the characters are reacting to each other and carrying on, that is almost a comedy. So this sets up for a very entertaining and fun film. However, it's not as funny or entertaining as the setup would lead you to believe. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all. It's quite nice to have a light and exhilarating opening, which, by the way, had my wife and I cheering. We were really happy with this opening sequence. It's just good value. But the rest of the movie plays out to be a little bit darker, a little bit heavier, a little bit more grey on the moral scale for Ethan and his team. It does ask the question, at which stage does a international or just a local intelligence agency get unmanageable? At which stage does the black ops, get completely out of control and the government doesn't even know how to handle or keep track of what they're doing anymore? There are plenty of arguments out there to say that this is already the case. And you know what? I'm not entirely in a point to disagree with them. It's a Mission Impossible movie. It's heavy on the exposition, but once again, it's done in a very entertaining and visually engrossing way, which is full of flashbacks, cutaways, voiceovers, and all that sort of stuff. It's almost not even worth bringing up anymore, because that's always cool. They always do it really well. Also, the way that they have the CIA turning up the heat in the background on this one. It's, again, much like Ghost Protocol and pretty much every other movie before it, where the government or whatever agency or someone within their own agency, it doesn't approve of what they're doing and starts to send out people to catch them or stop them or block them. It's just another roadblock, and this one felt much more political than actually physical. It worked well, it added the tension, and really enhanced the twist at the end, actually. Twist. No, I don't think it's a twist. It's a very clever development, though. I also really enjoyed the way that Elsa led them all around by the nose, in turn just being baited and dragged around by Lane. So that multiple level of manipulation and extra levels of play that was going on here was very, very sweet. But the story has two major action set pieces. One, of course, being the Battle of the Opera, which was really good. It felt quite slow, had some excellent build-up, and used the music in the background very, very well. And the other was the underwater sequence where they had to go and get some data. No, correction. They had to go and swap out a data card so that Benji could get inside and steal the information they're after. That was also very cool, very tense, and once again, I found myself holding my breath while someone else is underwater. I'm just glad I don't do it when I'm watching a submarine movie. Red October might have killed me. The story was very engrossing. It really led you along. You're constantly wondering how Ethan's going to pull this one off. I mean, you're always thinking that in these movies, but particularly this one. It wasn't the physical side, it was just the way that he was getting so boxed in and outplayed by Lane. That's the bit where you're wondering, how is he going to break out of this cycle? It was very cleverly done. Oh! Benji gets his mask, or at least he almost gets his mask. We get a nice little sequence with Benji getting his mask and he's so happy. Except he doesn't. It's actually a flash forward possible scene. You know when they talk about what might happen and it goes wrong and they flash back again? Yeah. Unfortunately, it was that. Next time, Benji. Next time. But on the whole, the story grabs you, doesn't let you go. It keeps you keen. It keeps you very interested in how this is going along. You're pretty sure that everyone's going to come out okay, but you're not 100% sure. And there's a good chance of it all going catastrophically wrong, so that really kept your interest. This is once again a 3.5. A very nice Mission Impossible story. Look and feel. As usual, this has some incredible polish. This movie is gorgeous to watch. The sets are fantastic. The sets look great. The scenics are fantastic. The beautiful places they go to and blow things up in. It's just amazing. The way they shoot their action scenes, the way they shoot their chase scenes is just dynamic. It really gets you into it. When you're watching this bike chase down the highway, you can feel how fast they're going. They really actually feel like they're hawking along a highway dodging cars. From a technical point of view, as a viewer watching this, it doesn't feel remote. It feels, well, real. Highly effective. Costumes, props, the tech, gorgeous work. Really nice, as usual. All the Mission Impossible stuff that you're expecting, where they put little looks like a little coin on one thing and a coin on another thing, and that steals data from there and transmits it onto this and gives you all this lovely heads up display sort of thing on a book. That's madness. It's rubbish, but gee, it looks good and it feels good. What I really want to talk about in this one is the music, though, because they're in Vienna and they've gone to an opera, and the opera is in full swing, and you got the music rising and falling, very operatic. And it just looks beautiful in this opera house. They've made it a character, and it's so good. You've got this opera music carrying on in the background, doing its thing, sweeping the audience along in the vista. Meanwhile, Ethan is a great big ex-Mossad guy trying to kill each other on one of the lighting rigs. And then throughout the rest of the movie, from that point on, from the Battle of the Opera, from that point on, you'd have the operatic music playing back into the scenes every now and then. You'd have that musical swell and then fade out, where key portions of the operatic score would come through. So good. Very nice attention to detail, and you only pick it up if you're paying attention, or when it's swelled into the foreground of the scene, and it was just perfectly placed. And back to locations, everywhere they went, it felt like where they were meant to be, either through very clever manipulation of the local environment, or maybe they were really where they were looking like they were, or just seamless CGI. It all felt authentic in each location, which is nice, particularly in England, when they're getting around in the back streets. Some of those back alleys played into exactly what you imagine an English back alley at night would look like. And the final neat trick is where you got the bad guy in a box and there's all these reflections and downlights at play. Really stylistic, really well shot, super, super effective. It felt like the dramatic closure to a dramatic movie, which it was. Look and feel for this one, I'm going to be giving it a 4. It was something else to watch. It really engaged you. You were so caught up in everything and everything else that came into it. Every little bit of detail, every bit of background, every bit of music, every bit of sound, all just played in to make this very perfect picture. And it held you for the whole 2 and a bit hours. Really nice. Easy 4. Script and dialogue. Well, this movie was full. This was a full and well-rounded out script. This had so much going on in this. We can start with all the throwbacks to the previous movies. They make a big deal out of all the other movies. They mention plot lines, major events, major problems, or the catastrophes they caused and averted. There's also a lot of very clever moments in here where the dialogue is not only reflecting what's happening at the moment, but reflecting what will happen, and all those crossover moments where one person's talking and then a crossover to someone else doing the thing that the person's talking about with the voiceover in effect. Lots of stuff like that, and it's very, very nicely put together. And funny. Much funnier than I thought it was going to be, particularly the opening sequence, as I've mentioned before. Very clever, very, very witty. Some of it spoken, some of it just circumstantial, almost like the good old sight gag. Forrest and Hunt have just slid down a rope attached to a flagpole and are casually walking back into the crowd, and the flagpole collapses off the roof behind them. And they kind of stop, they don't look back, take a breath, and keep walking. Stuff like that. They do that a lot. Ethan Hunt is telling a lot of jokes just with his eyes in this one. There's a lot of unspoken humor, and I love that stuff. The villain's got a lot of good dialogue in this too. He hands out his bad guy monologues very nicely. And anytime we got Hunt and Lane going at each other over the comms, dropping lines, dropping threats, all that sort of stuff, it's really good. It actually pays off a lot of the tension. You've had a lot of time in the movie building up to that, and then it happens, and it just feels like almost like a gift to the audience. You've been waiting, here it is. Well crafted. Yeah, there's a term. The script for this movie feels very well crafted, very well polished. And all of the character arcs and all the character behavior felt consistent. There was no unusual behavior from anyone. Benji's little temper tantrum at being treated like the little brother and sent home to keep safe, that was cool. Insisting that he stay in the field because that's what he's there for. Benji had his moment and it was nice. Luther and Brandt in the 4-wheel drive when they're trying to chase down Benji and Hunt in this really fast car. That was good. Them bickering and carrying on and Brandt yelling at Luther about, we just had to get the 4x4. You know, that was very, very nicely done. And then those two popping up like meerkats when a very badly injured and quite bashed around Ethan staggers out of one car, jumps on a motorbike and zips off for his next chase. It's just, these two are good. I want to see more of Luther and Brandt. I really like those two together. So as for script and dialogue, Look, I think I'm actually going to be giving this one a 4. They wander through a whole bunch of tropes and cliches and setups and things you've actually seen before, but they really managed to deliver it in such a way that it feels new and fresh and exciting. Characters work, the villains work, the plot, the overall plot and story works, the twists work, they're very twisty, the actions tie in, even the most ridiculous over-the-top stuff still feels like it has a good place in this movie. So yeah, I'm going to give script and dialogue on this one a 4. Fun factor. Well, suffice to say, I had a really good time with this. Excellent chase sequences, excellent fight sequences, excellent moments of suspense and infiltration. You got the intrigue, you got the masks on, you got the double crosses. At various points in the movie, you don't really know who's who and where they're going with this, and that's good. It felt like a good value, high-end Mission Impossible story, which, it is, and it was, and it always should be. But once again, this movie's a little bit better than the last movie, which was better than the previous movie. They just keep stepping it up. I'm loving it. I'm having such a good time with this stuff. Fun factor, 3.75. Good time. So final score. You add all these up, and you end up with an 18.75. That's a high score, and this is a good movie, so it's totally earned it. This movie fully engaged me, and it's one of those rare cases where the sequels keep getting better. I honestly can't think of many movies that do that. Would I recommend it? Yes. Totally recommend it. Go watch it now. So that's my review for Mission Impossible 5. Hope you've enjoyed it. I loved watching this movie. Please comment down below your thoughts on this movie or this franchise. I haven't seen the movies that come after this one yet, so I'm really keen to know, does this just keep getting better? Does it plateau out at merely really good? As usual, please like, subscribe, and share my review around. And as always, I hope you're having a great week and that you find some time to go and watch a movie.